Students, in the last class we saw or we studied about discrete Fourier transform. Discrete Fourier transform is a way of computing Fourier transform for real signals, because all the Fourier analysis or Fourier series and Fourier transform theoretical explanation we did was all for analytical functions. But in reality, as you saw, that we do not deal with analytical or continuous form of data. The data what we have is in the discrete form. That means we have measurement at different instances of time or positions. So that means that data is a sampled data with a particular sampling interval. So we have data at a certain interval of time or space. So for such cases, what we do or what our computer is doing or whatever our programming language Python or MATLAB is doing discrete Fourier transform. However, if you have large amount of data like 10,000 or 100,000 data points, in those cases computing discrete Fourier transform sometimes can become computationally inefficient. That means it may take longer time, right? So as we have seen a small example for 4 data points in the last class, that was a simple example, but in reality, in practice, you may have a large number of data points. So in that case, computing discrete Fourier transform may become cumbersome. So a new algorithm was proposed by Cooley and Tukey in 1965 to compute the same discrete Fourier transform in a faster manner. And that algorithm of computing discrete Fourier transform, what we call FFT, you must have seen in your MATLAB or in your Python programming or in your R. The command which you give to compute the Fourier transform from the data is FFT. So it is this fast Fourier transform algorithm. So I will briefly review first this discrete Fourier transform, what we have seen in the last class. It is in the matrix form we were writing, because writing in matrix form becomes easy to understand and the multiplications become easy. So you can see this Fk is our input data sequence. So please do not get confused with the frequency here when I am writing F. So this is the function, essentially the input data points Fk. So you may have n data points, for example. So our summation will go from 0 to n minus 1 because there are n data points. E to the power minus in tk. This tk, because we sampled time in different intervals, so this tk was 2 pi by n. We sampled it in n data points where k is running from 0 to n minus 1 again. So this is our forward discrete Fourier transform, where n are again 0 to, from 0 to n minus 1. So these n belongs to different frequency components. As you can see here, we will have one coefficient or one c for each frequency component. Similarly, so we can write our Fourier transform, our discrete Fourier transform, where Fn is in the frequency domain. I am just writing it in another form so that I can write it in a matrix formulation. Fk summation over k equal to from k equal to 0 to n minus 1. This should be n minus 1. So please take care of this. So Fk is the input data sequence, e to the power minus 2 pi nk. This is the complex exponential, and Fn is the discrete Fourier transform of our Fk. So we will have Fn for each frequency component, where we can write this exponential e to the power 2 pi I divided by n as omega n, because then we will have different values of this exponent for different values of n and k. So in the matrix form, because so that it becomes easy to write in the matrix form. So this is your input data sequence, F0, F1, F2. These are your measurements at different samples or at different instances or points in time, and these are equally spaced. This is our matrix, exponential matrix. Essentially this is coming from here, E and K. So omega was this, and n and k we can put values depending upon how which frequency component we are computing for. So this is F0, F1, F2, F3. These are the discrete Fourier transform. So when n equal to 0, this is n, so you can see here n, so this is n equal to 0. So for n equal to 0, k will go from 0 to n minus 1. So when n equal to 0, whatever value will be of k, e n k will always be 1. So you can see it is 1. Next time when you are computing it for n equal to 1, the first one will be for corresponding to k equal to 0. So this will be again 1, then it will be omega n, omega square n, like omega n minus. So on and so forth. We will have all the elements of this matrix, and essentially we will multiply each row with this column vector and then sum it up. So what we get essentially a discrete Fourier transform. So the problem with this, like if you have 100,000 or 1 million data points, for example, so then this computation becomes quite time consuming, because the amount of multiplication you will be doing overall will be n square multiplication and then sums, because every time you are multiplying it n, so these will be n, so it will become n square multiplications overall. So the time taken from your computer can increase significantly. It was back in like 1965 or something like this, when computers were not that fast, but in fact in today also it is quite fast algorithm in comparison to when we I'm sorry, it is a slow algorithm in comparison to what we do in the fast Fourier transform. So we will see. So this is the traditional way of computing discrete Fourier transform. So when you have large number of data points, your multiplications will total multiplications and computation will become very large. So the time consumption will also become large. So think about when they discovered this FFT in 1960s. So that time computation, that much amount, even a small improvement in computation time was a big achievement. So that's why they had to discover FFT. So that is again that DFT we are writing in the form of matrix. So this one is our matrix, this complex exponent matrix here, capital F. This is your Fourier transformed version of your data. This is your input data F. So again I say that please do not get confused with the frequency component. This is the Fourier transform of your data. This is your input sequence of data. This is our matrix. So the fast Fourier transform algorithm is an optimized way to compute the discrete Fourier transform and its inverse in a rapid manner. So the first algorithm was developed by Cooley and Tukey in 1965. After that, there are different approaches of computing FFT have been developed, but the first one was developed by Cooley and Tukey. And the basic idea of Cooley and Tukey, or you call it Cully and Tukey, was to exploit the symmetries of the discrete Fourier transform. The symmetries, what kind of symmetries we are talking about, this we will see in the next slide. So the idea of symmetry is that if you can show analytically that one piece of the problem is simply related to another, you can compute subsequently only once and save the computational cost. So you have to compute only once and then you can just replace this next time. So the idea it is like this. So symmetry property, what I mean by symmetry property. So for example, if you see, this is our forward discrete Fourier transform. Fk is your input data sequence, summation over k equal to 0 to n minus 1. I have removed 1 by n for simplicity here, because we can put 1 by n either in the inverse case or either in the forward case, or some people prefer to use 1 by square root of n in the forward discrete DFT, or and 1 by square root of n in the inverse DFT. So I am putting it in the inverse. So I am just concentrating on the forward DFT. So I am getting rid of, for simplicity, for the sake of simplicity, I am getting rid of this 1 by n term here. So if k equal to 0 to n minus 1, summation over n minus 1, Fk is your input data sequence. This is the complex exponent. N are the total number of samples. K and n are running from n equal to 0. K is also running from k equal to 0 to n minus 1. N is also running from n equal to 0 to n minus 1. So suppose I want to get the DFT of f n plus nth term. N plus nth term, analytically I am trying to show. So k equal to 0 summation over k equal to 0 to n minus 1, fk is your input data sequence e to the power minus 2 pi I k. So, in place of n, I am writing n plus n divided by n. So, you can see this, that here we can take this e to the power minus 2 pi k inside. So, it will become minus e to the power minus 2 pi I k multiplied with small n and plus e to the power minus 2 pi k n total divided by n. So, this n and n will get cancelled. So, it will be just e to the power minus 2 pi I k, and with the addition next term it will become e to the power minus 2 pi I k n divided by n. So, see clearly this e to the power minus 2 pi I k will be equal to 1 for any value of k, any integer value of k, not for any value, but for any integer value of k. So, whether it is k equal to 0, then it is 1, when it is k equal to 1, then it is again, because it will be cos 2 pi plus I sin 2 pi or minus I sin 2 pi. So, every time whatever value you take, it will become 1. So, if we write this one, so what we get, the DFT of f n plus n is equal to k equal to 0 n minus 1 summation over k equal to 0 to n minus 1 f k e to the power minus 2 pi k n divided by n. So, it is the symmetry, because essentially what we got is the same. So, that means if we get for one part, we can sometime replace, we do not have to compute the Fourier transform. If I already know the DFT of f n, I do not need to compute the Fourier transform or DFT for n plus n. Next time I can just compute, replace it by this. So, that is what is the idea of symmetry. So, what we do actually, what the method was proposed by Cully and Tuckey is that you have the discrete Fourier transform written like this, forward discrete Fourier transform. This is your input data sequence, summation over k equal to 0 to n minus 1, n are the total data points, total number of data points. So, the idea is that we divide the full sequence. So, you have the sequence of n points. So, you divide this sequence of n points with indices, with even indices and odd indices separately. So, you take the data points which has indices 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, they are separated, and which has the indices 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, they are separated. So, that is what we are doing here. You see here from k equal to 0 to half. So, we have taken it in such a way that the odd indices and the even indices are equal. So, I will discuss this later. K equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 to the summation now will go from k equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 f 2 k, because we are talking about even indices e to the power minus 2 pi n. In place of k, I will write 2 k by n, because here n plus summation over k equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 again f 2 k plus 1. So, you can put the value of k equal to 0. So, it will be essentially an odd index e to the power minus 2 pi n 2 k plus 1 divided by n. Now, see what we are getting here. So, we are just rearranging terms, nothing else we are doing. So, it is again the summation term f 2 k e to the power minus 2 pi n k. So, the 2 which was here, I can bring here in the denominator and can write it n by 2, right. So, there is nothing extra we are doing, just bringing this 2 down here and then writing it n by 2. The same thing is here, this term e to the power minus 2 pi n divided by capital N is brought outside of the summation, because it is not depending upon k, and the summation is again from k equal to 0 to n by 2 to minus 1 n by 2 minus 1 f 2 k plus 1 and e to the power minus 2 pi k divided by n by 2. Now, you see this one and this one are looking very much similar, right. Only the difference is that we have to multiply it by this term. So, this is the symmetry property, that we compute DFT for this part and this part separately, right. So, what happens when we compute the DFT for this part and this part separately. Earlier we were doing n square multiplication, now we will do n by 2 whole square multiplications. So, the time we have consumed, earlier we were doing n square multiplication, now we were doing n square by 4 multiplications, right. So, our time is already reduced by separating odd and even indices. So, there is no point that we stop here. We can further divide this again in odd and even, again this one in odd and even. So, keep on doing this unless we are remaining only with two points in the odd one and 2 points in the even one, because these are the minimum possible. And then we are exploiting the symmetry properties again. So, every time when we are breaking or dividing it in again odd and even time, we are always reducing our time like this, that n square by 4 times. The number of computations required are decreasing every time. So, that was the basic idea of fast Fourier transform. So, in this case we will keep on doing this, and the total time required is essentially of the order of, or the total computations or multiplications, those matrix multiplications are n log n. So, from n square we are coming n log n. So, for example, if you have n equal to 100, you can see, or n equal to 10, you can see how much you are able to reduce the multiplications or computations in this case. So, we keep on breaking this. So, this is also called divide and conquer strategy. So, this one is the Cooley and Techie algorithm for computing fast Fourier transform. The point is, in that case you need data sequences. The number of data sequence should be 2 to the power n, like, because if you don't have 2 to the power n, then you will not be able to divide them equally. So, that is why this you see in your Python or in your MATLAB, that you see that your length of the data sequence should be in the form of 2 to the power n, like 2, 4, 8, 6, 64 or something like this, and keep on doing this like 2 to the power n. So, then only you will be able to break it in equal, even and odd parts. So, in reality, that is what actually your Python code or MATLAB code is doing when if it is using Cooley and Techie 1965 algorithm. So, what they are doing, that if you don't have your data points like in 2 to the power n terms, they are padding the data so that it becomes in the form of 2 to the power n. So, if you have 7 data points, so it will make it 8, so that it becomes 2 to the power n. If you have 15 data points, so that it becomes 16, so that it becomes again 2 to the power n format, right. So, then it will become possible to divide your sequence in equal number of odd and even terms. So, that is what you get in your programming languages, whether in MATLAB or in Python. So, that was all about fast Fourier transform. It is an algorithm to compute discrete Fourier transform in a rapid manner. In the next class, we will discuss about periodogram.